Norma. Let everybody get in, get recorded, and we'll hit the mark. Yeah. You know, with some folks, one of the most famous quotes, my quote of the day will be, "The man most afraid of being robbed is a thief." Give that thought as you start thinking about how people react to the work that we do. So also, I don't think people are quite in. I'm hoping for a relatively quick space. I've got side effects from my vaccine, and I'm
glad you got the vaccine.
Yeah, got the vaccine out in California, PA. Nice 50-minute drive. And you may or may not realize, I did not know, one of the side effects that you can get from the vaccine, dose 1 particularly, really bad vertigo.
Huh.
So you are all moving right now.
I bet that made driving easy. So
that's Gavin, that's funny, and yet that might stabilize you just more than you think. It's legit, but yeah, I did get the vaccine, if nothing else, which brings to point, as we're kind of waiting for folks to gather, something that was brought up from another person that I know who got the vaccine, which is the state and the county's plan is terrible, as we talked about a little bit in our own kind of group, and that it really is about right now who has the time and the ability to, to access a computer, take time to during the middle of their workday to be able to kind of click away, irrespective of your health considerations. Right, the priority thing is still even kind of a secondary space. So yeah. So having said that, we got folks in the room, and move our way today. So as everybody kind of settles in, my apologies to be a few minutes behind. We had an executive session over personnel and kind of / legal matter. There's a little bit of both in that space. And so that did put us a few minutes behind, but here we are. So if Alex, everybody is in the room, am I correct?
Yes.
All right. Then at this point, why don't we call this meeting to order at 7:06? And if you can do roll call before we hit the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Yes. Valerie Renthaler.
Here.
Adam McDowell.
Here.
Norma Greco.
Here.
Matt Castiglia.
Here.
Kevin Collins.
Here.
Vice President Diane Long.
Here.
President Jay Doran.
I am still here.
And Mayor Paul Gamrat.
Here.
Thank you.
Outstanding. Thank you very much. At this time, if you can stand, if you are able, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. I will explain to folks I am not standing today. Okay. Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty
and
justice for all.
Hoorah. Well, I keep working on trying to time that with folks so I can get more of us in sync. It's a difficult space in the online Pledge of Allegiance. I will say that. Well, welcome to February. In the business meeting. I'm glad to see people are here. We start these meetings now by me stopping talking, allowing other people to start talking. We find that works best. And so at this point, we will look to have public comment. Again, in the comment from the public, there was in the comment from the public. if you can state your name, where your residence, if you're a taxpayer, the property, we can give you up to 3 minutes. If you're able to raise your hand in the participant space, I will go through those first. Once I've gone through those, if you are unable to raise your hand, if you physically are on camera and wave, I will make sure you're called. And if you are on the telephone after that, I will follow through. So first one up on the hand space is Mr. Bilby.
Okay, can you hear me this time?
Yes, I can.
Good, I had a cable problem the last time. All right, so
glad to have you.
all right, let me cover a couple of things pretty quick in here. And if I speak quickly, it's because the last thing I say is usually the most important. So I want everyone to pay careful attention to what I'm saying and not what you think I'm saying. Let me state up front. I think the Westinghouse property must be developed. Objecting just because it's a change in status quo, it's not an acceptable response. We must be open to the change. On the other hand, we expect the developer to provide an acceptable proposal for the area. The latest Hillwood proposal of 630,000 square feet last Wednesday is not acceptable. It changes none of the consequences and simply reverts right back to what they planned in the first place before presenting the 830,000 square foot. Two things are leading to a potentially negative resolution where neither the borough nor the residents nor Hillwood are going to be satisfied. First, the borough needs to go back to the basics and determine the rules, the parameters that we can accept from any given developer without implied threats to operate under the vagueness of some of the previous ordinances, and with the full input and participation by the residents. Churchill is small, we're compact, we're just like a little Swiss canton where direct consensus should govern these decisions. And second, Hillwood should admit that its proposal so far distorts the ordinances as to be laughable were it not so serious a threat. They know it's far beyond reason. And let me be clear, if Hillwood decides to build as of rights, we don't really want to tie up any project for so long that we all have gray beards before resolution. Buchanan Ingersoll is not the only major firm downtown with whom I've worked and have relations. Now, let's find something that makes sense for all of us. As a first step, I suggest that all of you read a book. It's called How Real Estate Developers Think. It's here. You can check it out in the library. You can buy a used copy. It's not cheap. It's $35. But it's heavily weighted towards the world of the urban property developers of condos and high rises. But it does give you as board members insight that can help the borough come to a best use option for the property. Then we need to start all over again, new rules, so that Hillwood or any other developer can be creative and come up with a proposal that we can all accept. I urge council to reject the Hillwood proposal given last Wednesday to the Planning Commission and end all discussion until we can come up with those rules. Then, since they were the first to express interest, we give Hillwood the first option to make a proposal under the new rules so that we can all work together and expeditiously bring new value to that Westinghouse property. I think it's doable in a few months. Thank you.
And for record, can you please state your name again and
Oh,
address?
sorry. Yes, Murray Bilby, 2424 Churchill Road.
Thank you. For everyone else, just please make sure that you do state your name and address before you begin, and I will not take that off of time, as FYI. Moving on to Joel Carrick.
Thank you. Joel Carrick, 116 Marywood. I'm just curious how the chicken ordinance is going. I know you said it was going to the zoning board. I'm curious what happened there and if that's coming for a vote anytime soon.
I'm going to lean on our vice president very quickly, if you can give a very quick response to the chicken space. But you can't do it while you're muted, and I'm sure you just said the most important thing.
I have to depend on you to have me do that. I know. Okay. The zoning committee met twice since the last meeting. Our solicitor went over the draft that had been prepared by the committee. He submitted his comments. The committee has made a recommendation to the council that they advertise the ordinance, which is the process that we have to go through. And at the end of that process, there will be a hearing, and then the council will act on the ordinance.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Bottom line being progress in this space.
Is there any dates or a time frame that you can give me on that so that I can report?
I don't know, let's see. Well, I think that's premature before the council acts tonight. The council has not yet acted.
Okay.
So-
Is there going to be action taken tonight by the council?
It's on the agenda.
It is before council for tonight. So
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Clear. You're welcome. Moving on to Susan Sterrett, please.
Hi, thank you. My name is Susan Sterrett, Susan G. Sterrett. I'm at 1903 Hampstead Drive. I wanted to comment on something that happened at the Planning Commission meeting on Wednesday. It's a big deal. It's a huge deal. So I thought that the Planning Commission president or chair asked an excellent question. She asked of Hillwood whether there would be any maintenance for the stormwater system that they had designed. What they were saying is that they have these they were pipes, but they were sort of supposed to be lakes or tanks or something underneath. And the answer that Hillwood gave was, well, it's all gravity flow. There's not going to be pumps that need maintenance. However, one of the environmentally advantageous features that Hillwood counts is that they're going to have treatment of stormwater to reduce the sediment after it leaves before it leaves the property. What does that mean? Well, that's not a pump, but that's a device that definitely requires maintenance. I think the engineer can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think it's a device that separates out the sediment and things that can once that gets filled, it has to be cleaned out. If it doesn't, well, what happens? Well, I think it would back up. Now, I think the general way to see this is, the reason they need this is because normally trees and soil would clean, would absorb the water, would clean the water. So basically what they're doing is by removing all those trees, they're creating a big need to have to treat the water. And then they have this artificial means, and it definitely will be a burden on the borough. I believe that if they ever vacate the property, or even if they don't, you can just expect another line right under sewage for things the borough is going to have to pay for. You know, between roads and sewage, there's going to be something for that stormwater system. So I think that the suggestion that was made by Mr. Bilby, that we ought to figure out what the rules are. And I think that what Megan pointed out was an excellent rule, that we not have to have maintenance on the stormwater control and treatment system. So that treatment system is something to look at, not just the flow part, the flow control. That was about flowing the control rate, controlling the flow rate. So if I have any more time, so what I think is that in general, what we're seeing is that Hillwood is answering what is not going to happen and not really telling what is going to happen. And there's a pattern to this. First, they told us there weren't going to be little vans, and we kind of had to push and get out that, well, but there's going to be tractor trailers. And then, you know, no, there's not going to be little drones directly going to customers' houses, but we know that they say elsewhere there's going to be big cargo drones between distribution centers. And then the third one is with the storm system, oh, there's not going to be pumps controlling the water, it's all gravity flow. But what there is going to be is a device that requires a huge amount of maintenance and would actually make the flooding worse. So I just wanted to reinforce the point about let's set the rules first and hope that the council does that.
Understood. Thank you for your comment, and thank you for abbreviating it when you knew time was up. I appreciate that very much. So I'm going to move on to Joy.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Joy Hardy. I'm at 26 Churchill Road, and I do work in the construction industry. I just wanted to make myself available to the council. It sounds like we're asking all the right questions and really defending ourselves in this, what I would call fight, important negotiation, we'll say. Again, if there's anything I can do, I just want to offer, you know, my assistance or advice in any way that I can help. I'm sure we've got professionals working for us as well, but construction is my sweet spot, and you really, we want to be sure to get what we want, because they will definitely, if you know, we end up accepting an offer from this Hillwood group, and you know, ensure that they get what they want. And I just think it's really important that we don't get left holding the bag in any way. And all the what I'm hearing tonight, you know, is encouraging. I think we bring up a lot of really good points. But if you ever need any advice from a construction professional, I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you for your comment, and for coming, because I like new faces. So I really appreciate you being here. If you feel free to email me, and we can have kind of a follow up. If nothing else, to kind of just, it's the first time I've seen you in this space, to engage you in council and let you know kind of where we are.
Sure.
I think I'm moving on. I thought I saw a physical hand up. I think it was Eric. So if you want to unmute yourself, state your name, address, and the floor is yours.
I'm Eric Rotzinger at 2373 Hollywood Drive. And I would just, we've had a lot of good comments about the Hillwood project, and a lot of good suggestions, which Hillwood is acting on. This process has been going on for a while. The rules have been laid down, and I don't understand what they mean when Hillwood isn't playing by the rules. Churchill is going to change no matter if we have this project or we don't. There's been a lot of study, and everybody thinks that there's going to be a savior coming in here, developing this property, having a small footprint. And we got to face the facts that Hillwood is coming in to develop this property. There'll be a substantial tax revenue from it, and we have to move forward on this. And there's been a lot of false things said about drones, drivers coming into this area. Hillwood has stated specifically that this is not a last mile facility, that this is a distribution center, and they have said that there's going to be large tractor trailers coming in here, unloading, and then distributing this to the last mile facilities. So we're not going to have small trucks. The major traffic will be from the workers in that area. And I think this is a great proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your comment. Moving on to Ms. Skaggs. Sorry. You're going to have to unmute, because I'm sure you're saying the most important thing of the day, and we will never know what it is.
Sorry. Okay. Hi, Joanne Skanga, 30 Churchill Road.
Yes,
Mr. Grotzinger, I highly disagree with everything you just said. I think the Hillwood project is a quality of life issue, and they are a big corporation that will do for themselves what big corporations do. They really don't, I don't think they really care so much about Churchill. That's why we have to care about what happens to Churchill. Yes, it will change, but not at the risk of health issues and quality of life issues, which I think this whole project will impose upon the residents of the borough. I stated on Wednesday at the meeting that we had, I guess was last week, and there are no warehouses, distribution centers this size in a residential area. It will impact our area from a traffic perspective, from a health perspective. And I think those are all the kinds of things we need to look at that make Churchill a livable area. So I would highly suggest again that our council and other people possibly visit one of the sites to see exactly what it does look like at all hours of the day. I think that in terms of the traffic, what they're proposing, their studies were done by their own group. And I think that Churchill needs to have studies done by independent organizations and not by the Hillwood group. So those are a few of my comments for this evening. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Greatly appreciated. Is there any other person that wishes to make a comment? I have kind of the three spaces that I look at. I look for the hands going up. I look for the kind of physical wave. And then if you are in neither of those, if you'd like to unmute and state your name, I'm happy to have your comment as well. If you are.
Hi, this is Joy Hardy again,
Joy.
at 26 Churchill Road.
So Joy, thing is that you can't comment twice. So I'm sorry to do that to you. I know, and you're new to the party, so I hate to be the one. I'm happy to speak with you after, though, for whatever your secondary comment is.
I will send you a question offline, and it has to do with traffic study.
Yes,
and what
I'm
Joanne just mentioned.
Happy to have that conversation with you.
Okay.
Is there anyone who has not spoken who is looking to have a comment before we move forward with the agenda?
Hi, Jay. It's April Klein, 18 Holland Road.
Hi, April.
I sent Alex an article from a concerned scientist website talking about warehouse distribution centers in residential areas as a social justice issue, and how they should never be in close proximity to schools, places where young children play outdoors, or where elderly live, because those population groups are very sensitive to the increased air pollution that the truck traffic brings into the area. And of course, right across the street from the warehouse on the western site is the Woodland Hills Junior Senior High School, the Pace School for Exceptional Children. And then on the north side is Beulah Christian Preschool and Daycare. And throughout the community, we have young families moving in, and many residents like myself, we are elderly. The buzzword for the past year has been follow the science. We should look at facts and data. Well, all the scientific literature that I read says that this is a bad idea for our community. The size and scope of this project will forever change the character of our residential community. And it's not just air pollution. We're taking down 1,000 trees, which Susan mentioned changes the drainage situation. We're increasing air pollution. We're leveling off the top of the hillside and filling in the valleys. It's a mined area. It was deep mined and strip mined. Think of what moving that dirt around is going to do to the sediment in the streams that drain that property. I think we have to do what Murray suggested and revisit what the rules are and set down parameters so that our area is not forever adversely affected. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, April. I appreciate it. Is there anybody else who wanted to comment before we move out of public comment? I don't want to miss anyone. I want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to speak. So if you're on phone, if you unmute, I'm going to give it just a couple more seconds before I move forward. Okay. Well, thank you all for your comments. They are certainly taken seriously by council. We're going to move now into the ordinary items that are on the list.
My shoulder.
I'm sorry? I think somebody might want to mute, as is my guess in that space. So at this point, I would entertain a motion regarding the workshop minutes and regular meeting minutes.
Mr. President, I move that the council, no, I can't see it.
It is January 4th and January 11th.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. There we go. Okay. I move that the council accept the minutes from the January 4th, 2021 council workshop meeting and the January 11th, 2021 council regular meeting.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Excellent. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the minutes are accepted without opposition. Moving on to the treasurer's report, we do it as an accepting motion. So at this time, you did have a copy of the treasurer's report. Were there any questions on the treasurer's report? Not hearing any. At this time, an accept a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
So moved, Mr. President, but I do have some comments, not questions, so.
Is there a second? We'll leave it inside discussion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Excellent. At this time, we'd open it up for discussion. That includes comment. So Mr. Collins, you had a comment. We'll open with the comment.
Yeah, Jay, I think this is, our treasury reporting is coming along very nicely with Alex and Krista's efforts. It's getting more detailed. There are more cost centers, and we're able to track it through the budget year, and which would be helpful to pinpoint possible areas of problems. So I appreciate that. And there's a lot of detail and there's a lot of stuff to go over. Also, in the treasurer's report, I think we're listing all the bills that were paid last year and weren't on the past report. So Krista is breaking it out in a very nice manner so that we can understand it. So I urge the council members to take a good look at it. One thing on this month's report, we're spending a lot of money on salt and on road repair and snow removal, which I think the Ralph and his crew are doing a very nice job. They have another storm approaching tonight. So I just wanted to say that. Plus also in January, we paid the 3 insurance agencies up front. So that is done for the year. So I just want to make those comments. It's nice reporting.
So I will ask if anyone else has any other comment, question for discussion regarding the treasurer's report.
Yeah, Jay, I just wanted to comment and thank Krista for explaining, I think putting down reasons for variance on there, kind of explaining any of those larger variances helps to kind of get through that very quickly and summarize that very well. So I appreciate Kevin's comment and agree.
I think there's a general consensus among council that the reporting has become clearer, easier, and I won't speak for council in this last comment. And for people like me who have generally, simple minds, has become digestible. And so I greatly appreciate it as well. And I will go back to ask if there's any other comment before I close discussion. Right, hearing no other comment, all in favor of accepting said report?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And the report is accepted without opposition. This moves on to the magic of paying the bills. At this point, I entertain a motion to pay said bills.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All righty, I'm not sure. I'll go for the instant replay on that, but I know that there was a second there. It's very close. So the space of discussion at this point in terms of paying the bills, as you all can see, which has made my life even easier realizing that you posted this way. I'm telling you, our staff is outstanding. So anytime there's a bill above the amount of $15,000, we make sure to take the time to read that. We've added in that space as well bills that are totaling between $5,000 and $10,000. You can see them there actually on the screen for you. So it doesn't necessarily take the full reading, but I will go through just to be clear that in the Alcosan, there was a bill for $138,791.90. Again, this is the quarterly payment for treatment services ending on 12/11/20. Bigliotti Landscape and Construction in the amount of $20,000. I'll go back to Soleil. I realized I missed it. $20,018.80, and that's our effectively our road charges for the month of January. Soleil Construction, the amount of $107,647.95, which is the 2020 excavation contract. Then we've got Gateway Engineering, which is, I like to think about it as the way that our friend there plans to take his kids to Disney World. But we do require a lot of engineering services, again, is in that space, the amount of $16.80, of which $8,645 was reimbursed via Hillwood. We also have, in terms of, you heard from Councilman Collins, the salt purchase space in Cargill Incorporated, the amount of $18,791.72. Additionally, in this space, we have $6,363.19 for our UPMC Health Plan, $6,000 for Gibson Thomas Engineering. Again, as you see that it was a grant reimbursable addressing a traffic signal upgrade. Again, one major salt purchase. I just like the way that plays out. American Rock Salt, in the amount of $6,186.19, along with the building BIU, or Building Inspection Underwriters of PA, for their services in the amount of $6,311. That covers all of the red bills. Was there any discussion on the bills to be paid today?
I just had a quick question. Why did we switch from, I guess, American Rock Salt to Char Grill, or vice versa?
So I don't know.
I can answer that question.
Go ahead.
Just what we do, we don't want to be in a corner with Shaycog or with Co-Stars where one or the other vendor is unable to supply us. So they're very close to price. And today we had 7 triaxles delivery salt, which was very important because we were almost running out. We're at the back of the bin. So it's just a precautionary thing. And that's why we do it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to have some, extra diverse suppliers for that. So, okay, great.
Excellent. Any other discussion on the matter? Hearing none, all in favor of paying said bills?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? As you hear my dog bark in the background, we will pay the bills. Outstanding. We'll move on to the mayor's report / police report. I generally turn this over to the mayor, in which he can state what he would like prior to any motion on the table. Again, Mr. Mayor, you're saying the most important thing we've ever heard. That sound in the background is a 80-pound puppy. 85-pound puppy now. He's feeling better. Mr. Mayor, you are still up there. You go, sir. You're there.
I got to adjust the sensitivity on this thing. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. President. As reported to me, I wish to inform council that there were no unusual events during the month of January 2021. Officers responded to 630 calls of service, resulting in 2 arrests. The total amount of magisterial fees collected for the month were $300.47. The borough's 4 police cars logged 4,603 miles during the month. The chief is reminding us that during the month of February, we experienced a significant degree of temperature drops and inclement weather. He reminds us that motorists should exercise extra caution when traveling during these times, and most notably when traveling through neighborhoods where residents are clearing snow from their property and children may be playing. Residents are also to be reminded that they are not permitted to deposit snow into the roadway when clearing their driveways and walkways. Residents should also be mindful where they park their vehicles on the street as to not to create a hazard or make it difficult for snow removal crews and plow trucks to clear the road. Another important reminder is please do not leave your vehicle unlocked or unattended when running it to warm it up. The police department has experienced a notable increase in stolen vehicles at this time of the year. Always lock and secure your vehicle when left outside overnight. Chief Ackerley was also asked the residents to be cautious and considerate of their family pets when placing them outside for any length of time. Please ensure that they have adequate and proper sheltering from the elements. Details and other related statistics concerning the police department during the month of January 2021 are reported on the attached police department reports. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, I entertain a motion to accept the mayor's report.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Outstanding. Any discussion on said report? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, and the report is accepted without opposition. This moves us on to, we've got, looks like 4 action items on the table today. These include an issue with exonerating the tax collector, one on the auditor. And so, since I didn't really get much of a chance to task these out with folks, if someone would like to take number 7, I would be greatly appreciative.
Okay, Mr. President. Could you put it back up, please?
Alex, you took it down right when I've got someone to volunteer. If you do that again, no one will ever volunteer for me like that. So,
all right. I move to approve a resolution, and I can cut off with this.
Yeah, can't see it.
So Alex, the issue on the language is that your screen view has the individual's squares covering the actual text of the motion. So what I believe you will need to do is slightly shrink the size of the text there and move it over so that people can see it, both the public along with council, because effectively right now the public cannot see the motions that are on the table before us.
It must be some way the screen is viewing, so you have to bear with me because I can see it on 2
Not a
different
problem,
screens.
but
So I'm just going to have to work with the word.
Yeah, I can see it all without a problem.
Me too. Yeah.
I think if you can't, you have view options at the top of yours. You can actually change your own view options too.
Yeah. So if you all, for those who are having difficulty, to kind of walk you through changing that. If you go to the top space, there's generally an ability to move from gallery to the kind of that line. And that
Does that help if I shrink the Word document?
That's fine. It's no.
All right. So Kevin, are you good? Okay, you're not good if you're muted, my friend.
Sorry about that, everybody. Okay.
Not a worry.
I move to approve a resolution of the Borough of Churchill exonerating Daniel R. During, tax collector, from further liability to collect taxes levied for the year 2020, which remain unpaid, a face tax of $61,377.83.
Thank you. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? I generally put this in the hands of the solicitor with the understanding that the conversation about moving the kind of delinquent tax over to the separate collector, but I'll let him, as we pay him to do this, let him give the official definition of how this functions.
You sort of stole the thunder, Mr. President, but yeah, that's exactly what's going on here. The current tax collector, Mr. During, or now former current tax collector, is being relieved of his obligations as of January 1 to collect the quote unquote current taxes. An accounting of those taxes is then transferred over to Jordan Tax after this resolution is approved, and Jordan Tax will we'll move forward with collecting those delinquent taxes.
And in this exoneration process, it happens every year, quite frankly, as a matter of how you're supposed to do this. So it is not much of a giant issue. But having said that, is there any other discussion in this space?
I had a question on this. Reading the resolution, it says that for face value of $4 and under, we won't be leaning, or I guess executing liens. How did we come up with that $4 number, and kind of why, I guess if there's an $18 tax bill, why are we going to lien that or spend the money to lien that?
That's a great question. You'll see there on even the list that is attached to the draft resolution in the binder. And I apologize, it might be 30 pages into the binder. I'm not exactly sure, somebody can find the page, but you'll notice some of those are smaller than that amount. Why that amount was chosen, I'm not sure, but there are some properties that have no improvements, and they might be a sliver of ground. And they just didn't pay taxes this year. So the value to go after that, I would assume, was historically why that number was chosen, you know, to go after somebody who's delinquent on $2.80 of unpaid taxes for the year. But if it accumulates and goes over $4, I guess we begin to adjust it. But that's something that it's easy for me working in the future or even this year if we want to do it via motion, if we want to adjust the resolution in that way, we can do that. And I'm not sure, Gavin, if that was something.
I would put that in the hands of the solicitor in terms of adjustment, but in terms of putting a line in the sand, there needs to be one. Mr. Solicitor, is there any comment you want to bring to this space?
You know what? I inherited the $4 whenever that's been the Churchill way for since at least 2013 or 2014, whenever I came aboard. So it's just mechanically something that I'm used to including in my letter to Jordan, and that council is used to approving as part of its motion. As I mentioned to Mr. Castiglia, I'm frankly not even sure if Jordan actually, if it's $4.01, if they're filing liens on these properties. I don't know from a practical aspect whether that's occurring or not. I do know that the borough does recover costs associated with collecting these liens. So even if you might say, well, if it's a $5 lien, but we're paying $100 to file a lien, that cost becomes part of the recoverable lien, as you probably are aware. So it's not necessarily money out for the borough. So it's just a matter of sort of how much you want to kind of wink at before you say, look, everyone's got to pay their taxes. Then that's so I think it's a judgment call by council. Maybe it's something to revisit going forward.
So yeah, it's, as I say before, it's an arbitrary kind of line in the sand. We need to draw a line. We can redraw the line. That's something I can go back to committee in terms of if it wants to be a discussion. But it kind of stands as kind of an arbitrary line. Good question, though. That's the beauty of fresh eyes, quite frankly. Anything else in the matter of discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Apparently my dog also. Any opposed? All right, it passes without opposition. This moves us to number 8, which is the question of an engagement letter for a borough auditor. I would take in anyone who's interested in that motion for the auditor.
I can take this one. Mr. President, I move that we authorize the borough manager to sign an engagement letter from the borough auditor, Hosek, Specht, Motzel, and Wood LLP to conduct an audit of the previous tax collector for up to $1,200.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Norma. And is a discussion. Just a quick point. It is in fact, and it was brought up by I think Alex in the workshop. Certainly something I know in my own businesses. It is the best practice to change your auditor. That you don't want to keep your auditor for too long because they start to have relationships that may impact the audits. And so I'm always happy to see that we are following kind of a best practice space. So is there any other discussion on this issue?
Just want to clarify, Mr. President. I think one of the best practices that is going on here at the request or the recommendation of the manager is that and there's no allegations of any sort of wrongdoing. Just to be 100% clear by Mr. During, but Mr. During's been the tax collector for quite some time, and because we do have a new tax collector now, council appointed. I apologize, I don't have her name in front of me. Danielle Weaver.
She's in the meeting tonight.
Thank you. I apologize, Ms. Weaver. So because of that switch also, I think that's another. Yeah. So
that was a very kind save, and while everyone else may not have seen that save, I saw that save. I greatly appreciate that. It's almost like 2 goals. Is there any other discussion on this matter? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, and motion passes without opposition. Moving us on to number 9, in terms of the magic of street paving.
I can do this. I'll do it.
Good. Thank you, Norma. World is yours.
Mr. President, I move that we direct the borough engineer to bid the proposed streets to be paved in 2021. Borough road segments to be paved will have other improvements, including signage and drainage. Work is expected to be completed before November. Is there a date or is just November? Okay. Costs below reflect the estimated additional costs that may be incurred for base repairs.
So the winners of this year's, and to be clear, is there a second on that? Sorry, before I go forward.
Second.
Thank you. In the space of discussion, before we begin discussion, to be clear that that Ralph has reviewed this, and these are the recommendations coming from him. So our Public Works Director, and so that is why and how these are selected based on their need effectively. Other point I would make really quickly before turning it over, if there's any further discussion on the matter, road paving is expensive. If you look and see the Woodland Hills Drive for the entire road is $224,000. That it was why we addressed the millage issue, is to try and ensure that we can handle infrastructure issues like this. That being said, I will turn it over to any other discussion on the matter.
Okay, Mr. President, the only thing is, Dennis and I've talked to Ralph, I'd like to see this completed before November. I mean, I'm okay. I'm going to, vote to approve it. But in the past, I think we try to get some of this road paving done before the school year. I realize with virtual schools and whatnot, that may not be that much important, but I would like to see this work done before November. Just a comment.
Understood.
I think that's generally agreed upon, quite frankly. In terms of the motion, I think the language gives leeway, but I think the need in terms of what's practical, I think Mr. Collins is directly on point. Any other discussion on the matter? Yes, Ms. Law, Vice President Law.
I would wanted to say for the benefit of the public that the list that you see there of the 2 streets that are going to be resurfaced, the original plan, which keeps us in concert with the plan that was established by the borough quite some time ago, we had to drop 2 of the 4 streets for repaving this year. And that was an issue of whether or not we were going to raise the taxes even further. So the difference was by keeping it where we did in terms of the tax increase, we had to eliminate 2 streets. And I think it's important for the public to know that, because our tax increase was about infrastructure, period. People do understandably complain about not having their streets repaved. It's very important for you to understand that street repaving equals millage. And that's something we struggle with. So I just thought it was important for people who are tuning in tonight who might see this to understand that impact.
No, I think it's an excellent point, quite frankly, and one that is the constant struggle for us. Is we are, the ability for us to maintain the things that we want here is a balancing act between the revenue that we are currently generating based off our property tax and the crumbling infrastructure that, quite frankly, all of Western PA is dealing with. We are not unique in that space, and so certainly in the road space, that was a very engaged conversation about the millage and our ability to provide infrastructure repair. And it was something that ended up with a reduction. To be quite frank, several years ago, before we had increased the millage to deal with some of these issues of infrastructure the first or second time, a similar size road, which is my road that I live on, was unable to be done in one pass. We could only do 1/2 one year and then 1/2 the next year, because the cost was too high for us to handle. So in this case, we're able to at least complete the complete road and not have half the neighbors, on my side wondering why, and then half the neighbors on the other side not wondering why. So I think a wonderful comment. Is there any other comments on this issue? Discussion? Hearing none, then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. And so the motion is passed without opposition with regard to the road. This brings us to number 11. I think it got moved around on me. I can't quite see it, but I know the primary purpose of the next one up. So Diane, if you would like to.
Mr. President, I move that the council direct the borough manager to advertise the draft, quote, backyard chicken ordinance, end quote. The ordinance will amend Chapter 304 zoning of the Code of the Borough of Churchill to regulate the keeping of chickens.
Second.
Is there any discussion on this space? I would simply say before discussion, this is the motion to advertise. The ordinance process is kind of a multi-step process. And so we need to advertise it first, hold a public hearing in that space, and then we're able to move forward with that. If I'm missing anything, the solicitor can correct me in that. He's already saved me once today. I'm sure he'll save me again. Kind of like a keeper keeping a clean sheet. So what do we got today on that? Any comment from the solicitor?
Yeah, before we get into the substance, I did want to just clarify the process. So there is a requirement of a county review of any zoning amendment. So what we'll do, if this motion passes tonight, this will essentially initiate the process. It will include providing a copy of the ordinance draft to the county planning for comments, providing a copy to the planning commission for review and comment. And then after a 45-day review period, there will be a public hearing before Borough Council to hear from the public, and after which council can vote to adopt the ordinance. So we'd be looking, with the motion passed today, we'd be looking essentially at a 2-month process where the ordinance could be voted on in, help me with my calendar, April, right?
Sounds about right. Much like VAR, a lot of comment, but I think your earlier saves were better quality. But nonetheless, that is the process. I hope that helps everyone understand kind of where we are and how it's working, but it is certainly moving forward in the way that it is supposed to move forward. Is there any other discussion on the matter?
I mean, I'll let the committee members, if they want to talk about the substance, the various zoning districts where essentially this draft would permit the both chicken keeping, the use as a use that's permitted by permit as of right, an accessory to a residential structure, and then also the coops and the runs that are associated with the keeping of chickens are permitted also as an accessory structure in certain districts. But I know that the committee, they hashed out a lot of this, some of which I was involved with, some of which I wasn't. So I don't want to steal anybody's thunder. So I'm happy to defer to any of those members if they want to talk about it.
No, I think, Alex, at what point will the draft be available online?
It actually is online right now.
Okay.
So I'm going to be sharing it with Joel in a matter of minutes. I've got that email queued. So it is, if they go to the eCode 360 environment through our main webpage, churchillborough.com, they'll be able to get there. And if anybody has questions, let us know. I think the solicitor covered it, that it's a permit and you want to check those nuances about the runs and the coop and the distances of side yards and rear yards within your lot.
Yeah, I guess I can just say that council has been addressing this issue for a number of years now. And quite frankly, there was a sort of a tipping point. This year we had an organized group of people who came to us and said, yes, there are a number of us who are very interested in doing this. We know that our surrounding communities, for the most part, have permitted it, and we did a lot of homework. Our staff did a lot of homework. Our committee members did a lot of homework with the Penn State Extension and then the State Department of Agriculture. And we feel that we have a very good ordinance that fits well in our community. So you can look at those details. If you have any questions about it, certainly contact our office. And I, of course, am available to discuss any of those details, as I'm sure our committee members are. So thank you all for your patience on this issue, citizens and council members alike. And we feel good that we're moving forward on this now.
Standing, any further discussion?
Let me just real briefly, I think the key kind of takeaway, and I can see the look you're giving, Mr. President, so I'll be very short and to the point with this, is that this use would be permitted only in the R1, R2, R3, and R4 zoning districts. It's got to be in the rear yard, and there's got to be 25-foot side and rear yard setbacks for the coop and the run and the keeping of the chickens. So just to be clear, this is not going to be a fit for every Churchill resident. They're going to have sufficient size and shape of their property to make this work. But those are sort of the key takeaways. I think there's a lot more detail provided in the ordinance that will be made available. So I think that's all I got, unless I missed something.
You're still making saves. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I have a quick question. Would there be a fee for the permit?
Yes, there will be a fee because in order to cover not only the processing cost, but also there is an inspection requirement. Once essentially in a nutshell, you need to show sort of a sketch as to where this is going to be. The borough manager will develop an application and a process internally, but there will be an inspection after the coop is constructed to ensure that it's a safe structure and it's been constructed according to whatever the best chicken cooping practices are.
Cooping.
I had a question as well, and I'm sure this will be in once it's published. Will there be a limit of how many chickens?
Yes.
Household? Okay.
That's a great. I'm sorry, that was another key takeaway that I should have mentioned. There's 4. It's a 4 chicken max right now.
And can we clarify on rooster?
No roosters.
Right.
No llamas, no alpacas, no geese, no turkeys.
No mini horses.
No mini horses, right?
Stay away from that mini horse space. It's more open than you think.
I know.
Turns out in the world of the ADA provides for 2 particular forms of service animals. Bet you didn't know this. Little common conversation of dogs and mini horses.
Yes. Well, we'll wait for the zoning hearing board.
So having said all that, is there any other discussion in this space? Okay. Well, it was good discussion and I think helpful discussion, and one that's to the benefit of both ourselves and our residents. That being the case, then, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there any opposition in this space? There is none. Therefore, the motion passes. We will move forward in the advertising space of the chicken ordinance, the backyard chicken ordinance. I like the quote on that space. Okay, that finishes up the action items, moves us into areas of discussion. And so first thing up on the table, just very quickly, is the space of the zoning hearing board and the vacancy. And so obviously we are looking for someone in that space, but I will turn it over to the discussion area to either Diane or the borough manager in that particular space.
Go ahead, Alex.
So right now we have a vacancy on the zoning hearing board, and we have been on our website and through this meeting a couple times now, inquiring for individuals to put their names forward to serve. The zoning hearing board is a quasi-judicial body that would hear variance requests and special exception requests. Special exception requests are similar to the conditional use. They're used in a zoning district whereby people would have conditions placed on it. But unlike the conditional use that comes through the governing body, the special exception comes through the zoning hearing board. But most importantly, the zoning hearing board hears variances. And variances are things that people would like to do on their lot, for example, a chicken coop. And there may be some things on that lot that preclude them from meeting, for example, the 25-foot set yard or rear yard requirement. They can appeal to the zoning hearing board, and the zoning hearing board may choose to grant the variance or may deny the variance. And that's why it's a technical legal process. The next item on the agenda deals with the idea that the zoning hearing board would need to, when they convene once again, appoint a solicitor for themselves to represent themselves. Under the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code, the zoning hearing board is not allowed to hire the borough's solicitor to represent themselves because there may be a case where there's a conflict between the ZHB and the governing body. And therefore, it's important that there's a separation of legal representation between the two. And we had an executive session this evening to discuss the matter of the latter, which was the solicitor for the zoning hearing board. But we make an appeal publicly for those who are interested in serving on the zoning hearing board. If you would please submit to me a letter of interest along with your resume for consideration. We're hopeful that the council in the March meetings will be able to make that appointment. There will be in March, likely, the first variance request in quite some time for them to review. So it's important that we get that in a timely fashion, and Lord willing, be able to make the appointment in March and do a little training before they first meet.
Thank you for your explanation and comment. I don't know if anybody on council has any additional comments to that space. I think this is definitely one that we're kind of putting out to the public to know that there is the need in the hopes of getting someone who's willing to step up. So if there isn't anything more, we can move to the next discussion space if you can pull it up for me so I don't pull the wrong one, because I think it's changed from what I have in my view. So Alex, what do we have next on can you pull the agenda back up, please? So the zoning hearing board, I think, I don't know that we need to have a full discussion on that right now. I think at this time, unless there's something that I'm missing, I think we can move forward. Mr. Solicitor, is there anything I'm missing in this space?
Nope, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, so we're going to move on and move to kind of discussing the community development space. For everyone, I think that the planning is the space that most of this is currently happening, quite frankly, the Planning Commission. And so other than to say that there was a hearing of the Planning Commission, they did have some conversation or a meeting with Hillwood folks were there, along with folks from, I believe, Trek on the Churchill senior communities, and those two are what are kind of before planning right now. So I don't want to go too much into that space. I think that the meetings are public, they're available, the information is online, but I think that is kind of where we currently are in both of those spaces. Any questions from council in that space?
Okay, Jay.
Yes.
On the Trek project, I just learned a lot in the Planning Commission meeting last week. I misunderstood. I thought the units were going to be for sale based on a split between low income and market value. But apparently this is going to be an apartment complex.
Yeah, it's going to be cottage home rental. It's not going to be for sale. I mean, okay. knowing the number of, particularly in our space, of seniors that meet the income qualifications, mm-hmm. It is the best space. We actually looked at a kind of for sale version of this early on, and one of the things that the data showed is that the majority of our seniors would not be in the space to purchase in that. Because quite frankly, the condition, either a lot of the homes where they've been unable to upkeep, or the fact that the equity in the home was going to go to family members if they were old enough, versus being able to move that equity into kind of that cottage space. And so for our less affluent seniors that we have, and we do have quite a few of them, having affordability became a paramount space.
Okay, now, but we can't require it only be rented to Churchill residents, can we? Or can we?
So it's an interesting space. There is a space for preference that can be done, for essentially residency preference. Trek is aware of that as well. We have an argument to be made based off the need that we have in our community. And so that will be part of the discussion with them. The expectation is that the first kind of opportunity for this would both be posted in and made available to Churchill residents.
Okay. Well, as usual, I'm also concerned about the tax revenue. I don't think we're going to recognize as much as I thought we were, but it was a nice presentation.
Yeah, and still a revenue, and still generating revenue instead of not generating revenue. The reality in that space is that when we looked at a for sale space, and I talked to a number of kind of senior community developers, the kind of median price in order to do the for sale space, which when they do the for sale space, it's a larger complex normally, so we didn't really have the square footage. I actually looked at this a few years ago at the Westinghouse site, to be quite honest, because it requires such a large space. When you think about those kind of really large live-in-place kind of senior facilities that include both the homes and then the step down to the assisted living space into the full skilled facilities. When you look at the kind of senior housing itself, though, to develop comparable, those housing prices tend to be around $300,000. As it turns out, right? And I'm talking about small, like when they build them. The people who do that kind of development don't find it profitable to do a kind of smaller, lower cost housing, right? And so in the sales, for the developers who develop kind of sales-based senior housing, the market wasn't there in that space. If it had been, we could have proceeded with it, but it really wasn't there. And I talked to a couple different developers who do senior housing. They were way more interested in being able to do a much larger scale, but still ran into the same problem that even if they in this goes for a couple of years. I've been talking to folks about this. Even if they did it on let's say the Westinghouse or the Churchill Country Club site, right, they still would need to hit that market value of the homes, and that our seniors don't meet the capacity to purchase those homes at that price, right? Because you can't ask somebody who's 75 to take out, not just sell their home, but their home isn't going to sell for $300,000, and now they've got to take out a mortgage at 75, at 63, so it just wasn't a viable market to do the sales space, but it is something that was drilled down upon in a couple different variations to see what was available to us. So instead, we end up in the rental space, but with the understanding that the purpose of this is senior rental housing. This is not a kind of subsidized space where the government is subsidizing the rental payments. It's not a Section 8 space. It's not a site-based voucher space. Tax credit requires the individual is going to pay their rent, right? So $1,000 rent, $800 rent. We're still trying to make it affordable for seniors. We understand that even that for some of our seniors can be difficult. We've got folks here. I love this space, and I love knowing that we've got a large number of us who are, Churchill remains highly educated, high income, generally speaking, to all of our neighbors. But we do have a number of seniors who have lost their income, their revenue sources. They're not working. Their husbands or wives have passed away who have been the primary generator of income. And so they are in need, and their houses are unable to be repaired at this time. We're seeing it around our neighborhoods. And so this offers an opportunity for them.
Good. Thanks, Jay.
You're welcome. Any other discussion on either one of those kind of topics in the understanding that they're both before kind of planning right now?
Okay. On the Westinghouse development, just a quick question. Alex, have we seen any resubmission detail plans that have been passed on to Gateway?
No, I think I shared with council on Saturday that I did get the presentations that they had provided, the PowerPoint presentation they provided at last Wednesday's Planning Commission meeting. We had expected, they had told Dennis that they were looking at mid-February, so sometime this week or next week to actually get the new submission. The key for them is to get them in time for March's Planning Commission meeting. If they get too close to March's Planning Commission meeting, they're in essence going to delay their own review, if that's correct, Mr. Solicitor or Mr. Engineer. So they're going to want to get them in soon so we can review them in a timely fashion.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Dennis. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to add that they are expected to submit by the 17th, next Wednesday, in order for them to be reviewed prior to the next Planning Commission meeting.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify the basics, which was when the planning commission met, because of what we're discussing right now, the Hillwood proposal was tabled because Hillwood said they were going back to do other things. And the proposal for the Schaefer School site by Trek was the planning commission voted to move that forward. So there were two different decisions about those two proposals.
Excellent. Any other discussion points on that?
I had a question about Trek for senior communities. Is that 65 and up?
I believe it's 62.
62.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other discussion points?
I did just have a general comment on the Westinghouse development, for the good of the public that, the borough engineer has been involved in the process, throughout. I think we understand that Hillwood has their own engineer, but certainly the borough engineer has to review all of their assumptions, plans, et cetera. And I'd say there's probably been well over 100 comments, that have come back from the borough engineer that Hillwood's been working on throughout the process. So just to make sure it's clear and everybody's comfortable, we do have our own separate representation with Gateway Engineers, and they are certainly, looking out for the best of the borough on that.
Point well made. Point well made. Any further discussion before we move kind of to around the table comment? Okay, at this time, we're going to move kind of to staff and council. Again, if you have any update that you want to bring, I know we talked about committee reports prior, so unless there is something else other than that, then I'm going to go through staff, and then I will go around the table with council, and then we will close this out. That being the case, for my outstanding engineer, Dennis Felipe Flynn, anything on the table, Denny?
Just the one update I'd like to provide regarding the pump station project. As was stated previously, that's for you, Kevin. The permits were submitted. We are still awaiting responses for those permits. In the meantime, we are preparing easement exhibits and descriptions. Those will be for the new sanitary sewer alignment. We'll need to obtain easements for that. As well as there's a portion of the project that was identified via smoke testing just upstream of the pump station for stormwater, which was making its way into the sanitary line. Those repairs have been prepared, which include manhole replacements or inlet replacements, as well as lining of a number of sanitary lines throughout the area. That was included as part of the GROW grant project. Those repairs are prepared, and we would advise just submitting that to the existing excavation and lining contractors as part of a work order. Since we already do have those contractors in place, that way we can proceed quicker. And once a contractor has completed some work and a payment has been made to that contractor, we can begin receiving our reimbursements from the GROW grant. And part of that includes reimbursements of design funds that were previously utilized.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Dennis. We're going to move our way around that. I'm going to kind of hit up the borough manager next. And if there's any comment, I see that they're obviously with the weather and the impending weather, I don't see Ralph on today. If there's any comment regarding either public work or fire, and then any other comments you want to make.
Yeah, just quickly, Ralph was in the waiting room actually, but had to answer a fire or accident on William Penn Highway.
Understood.
Unfortunately, you may have even heard through town the vehicles moving into that. So he's not able to be here. Again, the Vigliotti report is in there. There's a lot of work being done. We're looking at having the crews go out at 3 or 4 in the morning is when they're going to be starting. Just if people could be patient with us, it looks like tonight's event may be over around noon. So if they can delay their morning activities to get us a chance to get out there and get the road safe, we'd be very much appreciative of that. Nothing further to add from my report.
Thank you. Again, I would simply comment that you're doing a great job, and that Ralph is not only doing a great job, but actively right now doing the work that we need. Krista, anything that you'd like to bring to the table today as the assistant and financial?
Yes, Mr. President, the only thing I'd like to make note is that many of the residents may have received the postcards that we recently mailed out regarding the tax increase and the sewer surcharge increase. The associated documents that, led to those increases by those decisions in council are posted online, and they are available. If you are having any difficulty finding them, please feel free to give a call. No question is too small. I constantly urge that. Feel free to give us a call. My extension's 201, and I'd be more than happy to walk you through so you can review those at your own leisure.
I would just point out again the outstanding nature of our staff. I've been enough council meetings where I don't hear the staff in other spaces going, please give me a call. Here's my extension. I will answer it for you. I hear too often in too many other communities almost the exact opposite of that. So again, I just acknowledge it and appreciate. Working our way around, Mr. Solicitor, is there anything we need to bring up that we haven't brought up already from you?
I don't think so, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. We've hit up Dennis in this space. I'm going to move my way around in the magic of Hollywood Squares now, through unless I'm forgetting somebody, through our staff and the mayor. First one on my magical squares is Mr. Mayor. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, just a few brief comments, just to let the residents know how council again is working. All the administrators is working hard for the development that's coming up to make sure that we get the right thing for our community. I thank all the residents and their comments, their inputs that they provide for us. It's all taken into consideration. I think we can all agree that we want the best for our borough, and we're going to get the best for our borough. So other than that, just know sure that we're looking no stone unturned to get to the bottom, to get what we want for our community.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make a reference that you won't get, that you are the Flavor Flav to my Chuck D. You are the hype man that we all need. Moving on, I will go through my Hollywood Squares and cover through Mr. Collins, please.
Okay, thanks, Jay. Now, like Paul, I appreciate all the comments that were made tonight concerning everything, but especially the Westinghouse development. We in the staff and the council and the planning commission and our engineers and our solicitor are doing a great deal of work in reviewing submission plans. We aren't just relying upon what Hillwood tells us is going to happen. We're taking a serious look at this, and we have for a number of years. And in my opinion, the site has to be developed. And I don't necessarily think starting over again is going to be helpful. The facility needs mitigation, and it needs it badly. It's bad for the environment to leave that site the way it is. So I leave it at that. And again, thank you all for your comments. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Moving our way into what I would consider the Marcia Square. It is Valerie. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to echo what everybody said. Everybody is working really, really hard. We also all live in this community. Hillwood, the site is in my backyard. I see it every single day. So we are taking a great deal of consideration and reading a lot. I read a lot in grad school, and this is right up there in the amount of reports and things that have been submitted. So it is quite a lot. Also, I did want to thank the Woodland Hills School District Board. They invited some of us to the school the other day. I think it was last week? I feel like the weeks are passing by. To see some of the construction. I think it's wonderful, all the things that they're doing for our community, our kids. I think it's amazing. So I want to thank them.
All righty. I appreciate again your comments, Valerie. Somebody has to be, and I apologize, but today I have like massive vertigo, and it's just making me into like a ridiculous human being today. But having said all that, Adam, you're in the Alice spot of the day, so the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to reiterate what everyone else has said. I think, thanks to the Planning Commission, the hard work they put in, the meeting the other night, the good questions that they have, and the work that they're doing. And I just wanted to, say again, thanks to the borough staff and Ralph out there. I think it snowed like 3 days last week, and every day my road was being plowed constantly. And we've got a lot more snow coming, so just constantly being on top of that. Our roads around here, I really appreciate the work that they put into that. So just a thank you to them.
And a very fair statement, and one that is ever so true. Moving forward to Matt on the diagonal of the squares. That, by the way, that makes you Peter, just in case you're wondering.
I was wondering how many of those you were going to get right, Jay.
I'm going
good.
diagonal, and
Yeah.
cross. I got it.
You've watched too much Brady Bunch, but we'll save that for another time. I would just say to all our residents, I agree with what Adam brought up, the road crews, and Kevin mentioned as well. We're very blessed that we have hardworking folks to work to keep our roads safe. At any time you're not sure whether or not we're getting a good deal, challenge you to drive into the city of Pittsburgh and see what that's like, because I do it far too often to go shovel sidewalks, and it's terrible. The only other thing I'd say is, we certainly do appreciate all the comments. Please keep them coming. Emails that you sent in are shared amongst the council members of the Planning Commission. Alex does take care of distributing those. So if you have comments on the developments, on the other stuff going on in the borough, please, we're all ears. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Moving right along, we're on to Norma. You're outside my regular Hollywood
Thank
squares.
you, Mr. President, but it's hard coming so late because so much has been said. I do want to thank the residents for their continued, exploration of this and their thoughtfulness about the Hillwood project. And I think we're all working hard, but we do appreciate your comments, and we are listening to your comments. And you make me think, and I share your concerns. So thank you again. And thank you, the zoning committee, for its work on the backyard chicken ordinance. I think that is great that that's moved along. I'm very pleased because I know there's a long history to that. So that's an accomplishment. I thank you all. And thanks. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Norma. Moving on to Madam Vice President.
Yeah, I just, it is absolutely true that a healthy democracy requires an informed electorate. And I feel so strongly that we are so fortunate to have the people in this community who do their homework, who come to these meetings, who have very constructive and informed things to say. And all I want to do is say to all of you, I hope that you're encouraging your neighbors, your friends in the community to do the same. We really do want to hear from our citizens on these issues, on any of these issues. So please keep it up. And I want you to know that we really, as others have said, really appreciate your input to us.
Alrighty, that leaves me between us all signing off. As I am directly above Adam, that puts me in the Mrs. Brady spot, just in case you're wondering kind of where I am. Having said that, a few really quick points. Point number one, in terms of the space of development. This has been a long path. For clarity on these sites, this isn't something that we have been trying to develop for a week or a month or even a year or even 2 years or even 5 years. Development in these spaces has been extremely challenging. Finding anyone who was willing to develop in these spaces is extremely challenging. The other thing, quite frankly, is that we are not the owners of the property, just for clarity. And so we are not in the position to determine who buys the property, but we are in the position to determine whether or not they comport with what our zoning. That's first thing. Second thing, I can just kind of pile on to the space of kind of great hard work as my dog kind of screams in the background. Why are you still in this meeting? We are fortunate. We're fortunate both for our staff, we're fortunate for our council, and we're fortunate for our residents. I think our residents need to know that the council, each one of these council members puts in way more time than I thought they would. And they really are dedicated, just as you would hope, to this community. And to that end, to folks who are saying, hey, you know, why don't they do this or that? There are more opportunities to both volunteer and to run for office. So, you know, I am all for hearing any criticism. I think it only makes us better, but I'm also all for doers. So if folks want to be doers, there's an opportunity for that, including the zoning hearing board, as you just heard. That having been said, I don't have much else to say. I will close simply by saying that, you know, one, Gavin, you know, good game. And two, as much as my wife hates this, Tom Brady went to the University of Michigan. As a Michigan resident, he is in fact the GOAT. All right, that being said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, game, set, match, all in favor so we can go home?
Aye.
Aye. See y'all later. All right, take care, everybody. Thank you again for attending the meeting. We'll see you later.
Good night, all. See ya.
Good night.
I think we need theme music when this ends, you know, so we can all wave
No.
and be like, do do do.
So I was in fact tempted to play it. Just letting you know.
I really wish you had of. I really wish you had.
It is not a hard lift for me. I had it here. I had it ready.
Next time.
But I decided that I would back off today because the world is spinning and it probably isn't necessary. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.